Welcome to Word Blindness, Dyslexia Exposed. I am Juliette Hahn. I'm here with my co-host, Brent Sopel, and we are here to change the narrative. We want to educate, but we also want you guys to understand what it is like to be dyslexic and how things can change. So join us every week for Word Blindness, Dyslexia Exposed. Welcome back to Word Blindness, Dyslexia Exposed. I'm Juliette Hahn, and I am here with my co-host, Brent Sopel. How are you?
Hi.
So we are a little giggly today. I reference that because we have a lot to talk about. And as we do every single time, we talk for 15 minutes before, and then we're like, shit, we should have recorded because we got some good stuff. So today we want to talk about, because I think it's been like 2 or 3 times that just recently I've encountered people that have listened to the podcast that said, oh, I'm dyslexic, but I don't talk about it. And I've really there's no one that really knows about it. And then I get super intrigued. And then I call Brent and say, listen, I just had this conversation. This person doesn't talk about their dyslexia and they are fascinated by our podcast. And I'm really fascinated on their story.
Our PhD and doctorate, and then we start dissecting it.
Yes, because we are therapists. If you guys don't know, we are uneducated therapists. So we did not go to medical school, but we lived, what do you say, the life of hard knocks.
Yeah, we went to D1 school. It's called Hard Knocks.
Exactly. But that is one thing that you especially counsel people all day long. And I do have a realm of people that do come to me for advice because I do dissect and I usually have very good insights, as well as you do. So when I've literally, it's probably been the last month as our podcast is really getting traction. And you guys, I know people have asked, how can you support us? If you're listening on Apple, rate and review. We also have the YouTube channel. You can subscribe. I'm going to put that in the beginning because people are like, you don't do that well enough. Sorry, here I go.
Well, it's because we care more about, we didn't start this podcast to be the premier podcasters or whatever the technology is, or it's to help. It's to help people. It's to try and make any individual's life better. And I know I say it every day, being misunderstood every day is the hardest thing in the world. Just because I'm, Canadian and only speak Canadian, I'm trying to get to the American. I can't pass that class, but they won't let me bring my sled dogs across the border. But those are different conversations later. But it's rate, review, all those fun things. Julia, those terms. But that's not how we and why we started this to be the podcasters.
Right. We did it really for stories. And I do. If you guys are watching on YouTube, you are noticing that Brent is not wearing his hat. And yes, this is the first time that he's got his man bun in. So definitely go over there so you can see.
You don't like
I love
my
your
man
man bun. I love your man bun. It's wonderful, but people are going to notice, wait, Brent doesn't have his hat on. But so really, we got into this conversation because it is fascinating. We've talked about it with, in October with all of our guests, when people started getting comfortable talking about their dyslexia. And a lot of people are not. And we have our thoughts on this. So I'm going to let you start.
Well, and people always talk to me, Brent, let's put an event together for the Brent Sopel Foundation. We can raise millions of dollars. I'm like, oh, that'd be great. Awesome. But no. It's like, what do you mean no? There's not too many things in the world where so much embarrassment goes along with what it is. Obviously cancers, 1 and 2, not all hereditary. Next is dyslexia, 1 and 5. But the embarrassment that is attached to dyslexia, I don't know anything more in my mind that has that embarrassment that is attached to it. Obviously, because if you're, as I quasi, hashtag normal, look how many times a day that you read. And people that don't struggle with that, they take that for granted. Now you're a kid that's, 4 years old, 5, you're in grade 1, you just want that, your little friend to like you, or you're in grade 3, your cute little blonde to like you, and you can't do the simplest things. The embarrassment that is attached, to dyslexia, it's not wearing in the back row. It's not, it's tattooed here. It's tattooed here. And what that embarrassment does is self-esteem. We have none. And that's why I always talk about the terminology of self-esteem, is why, as you always say, the realist, is because when you get knocked down time and time again, and if you're a young girl or you're in high school, you're told you're fat, that you believe that. If you get told that over and over and over and over and over and over again, and when you can't do something that you look around and why can she? Why can he? Why can my sister? Why can my brother? What's wrong with me? Why am I dumb? And then it gets into, why am I stupid? Why am I not good enough? What's wrong with me? Why do I suck? Why am I ugly? And then everything just keeps going. And so then you don't talk about it. And obviously, Matthew Perry, comes to mind immediately for me. Obviously he just died, and his addiction ran rampant. I'm not sure if everybody knows. Obviously, everybody knows the TV show Friends. I spent some time in rehab with him. And that's where the addiction takes us. Is to places like that. I always talk about, my drug and alcohol abuse is, I got away from myself thinking I was dumb, and why can't I do that, and what's wrong with me, and why am I dumb, and why am I ugly, why can't I do anything? And that's why people don't talk about it. That's why the embarrassment, and they tell themselves it doesn't affect them, or I just sweep it under the rug. Well, at some point in time, one, you're not leading a complete life if that's swept under the rug. And if you're saying it doesn't affect you, I don't think, other than breathing, I don't think you do anything more than reading. I could be wrong. And if you don't face that, like you and I talk about, obviously, we all struggle. It's okay. We struggle, no problem. But if you can't ever admit that, and you're running from it and you're hiding from that, oh boy, it kills me. And that's why I have these honest conversations, that you can't wake up in the morning and look in the mirror and say, I love you to yourself, know it, feel it, believe it, if that's swept under the rug. So you're really not having a true and complete life.
Mm-hmm. No, I love how you said that too, because there's so many things that came to mind. And so many times I wanted to interrupt you, but I was like, I'm holding it.
I was very impressed. I was very impressed. I'll give you a cookie later.
Thank you. I did hot yoga today, so I'm very centered. It's so many different things, right? Because namaste. So many different avenues as you were talking. Again, when we talk about this, and I talk about this all the time, and I know my listeners and for my other podcasts are going to laugh if they're listening to this, because you can't stuff it, because if you stuff it, it's coming out somewhere. And I say this to my kids all the time, and they're like, Mom, just stop. It is so true. You can't stuff something. It is going to come out. It might not come out for years, but it is going to come out, and it's going to come out roaring if you have stuffed it. And as you said, when you're in the early ages of elementary school, preschool, kids are not innately mean. Like there's not a kid that's like born mean, right? But they're going to comment on what you're doing because they're curious. Well, why do you color like that? Why are you doing that? Why is your handwriting messy? And that's where it starts. And then as you continue in school, those kids are going to be like, why are you doing it this way? Why are you doing this way? Now, again, they're not doing it to be mean. They're doing it because they're like, why are you different, right? Why doesn't your paper look like my paper? And I'll never forget my oldest named Montgomery. Yep. And he is dyslexic and dysgraphic. And my mom had said when we were, And I still have to, when I spell it, I love the name. And it was like, I could not wait. But my mom's like, it's a summer birthday. He's a boy with our learning disabilities. Are you sure? And I was like, Mom, I'm not going to live my life thinking that way. And of course, I'll never forget when they were learning to write their name. He said, Mom, can I just be called M or like MJ? Because his middle name is James. And I was like, yes, honey, I am so sorry. I am so sorry. And then we realized dysgraphia and dyslexia. And dysgraphia was main first. And if you guys have listened to this podcast, you know, he had all these coping mechanisms. He memorized books all the way until chapter books. He had me reading them. He would memorize them, go back and read to the teacher, but he was memorizing, not reading. So I'm going to say this again. I can't see that. Oh, MJ.
If I go to Starbucks, I got to order. I'm either TJ or Lee.
Right. So funny.
So Montgomery, I feel for you. I feel for you.
Right. I mean, that's a long name. But the thing that it is so true. I mean, he literally would be like, can I just be M? And I'd be like, oh, baby, I'm so sorry. But again, those coping mechanisms that we talk about, right? It's what happens. But I'm going to say this. I'm going to say it loud. And I say this all the time. Dyslexia, dysgraphia, it's not an IQ thing. You can't see it, but a lot of times our IQs are higher. And if you think about it, as I just said, Montgomery used to memorize. So he would literally memorize word for word books that are like chapter books. Like I was like, oh my God, this child, because we would listen to books.
I've never heard anything like it. I'm just still blown away.
Yeah. I mean, the teachers were like, wait, he's, when we took him out, he got the neuropsych and they had him reading passages and they would read it. Then they would have him read it back. And then they were like, oh, and then when they took those words separate and had him, he had no decoding skills. So this child was memorizing, but that makes school really tough on the things that you're tough. So you're like, oh, that's a great thing. I mean, I would say to him, like, if you go to university, it's going to be easier because of some things, but I mean, that is a gift. I did not 100%. Say that. That is a gift. And again, as he got older, I'm sure with more stuff in your brain, it wasn't as easy. But at this time, all he wanted to do, he's fascinated with books, fascinated with words since the second I remember him. And it was all because he was processing because it didn't make sense to his own brain, which is really kind of clever. And this is where my doctorate comes in. I mean, but that I would love to like really get in there because that is fascinating. So, but again, every time someone says to you, why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? You're going to start being like, yeah, why am I? And why doesn't my paper look like this? And I think I've shared with you in my adult life, and I have worked through it. Like I did not stuff it. There's probably times that I did, but I have worked through a lot of my stuff and I am pretty okay with most of it. Every once in a while, some little thing will rear its head. And I realize, oh, wait, I didn't deal with that completely, but I've dealt with a lot of it. And I was, when I was staying home with the kids, I did this like fitness thing at one point and we were doing the seminar and we were getting our brains analyzed, how we kind of think best. And the person in the front, and I'm with all my peers, says, we're going to do a test. And I started sweating and I was like, oh, that's weird. Why am I having this weird reaction? Okay. Oh, okay. And then I started and most of the women that I knew me. They knew me as a very confident person. So they wouldn't have realized what was happening. And all of a sudden they're like, you're going to draw. And they put this picture up on the board in front and I had to copy it on the paper. Now this brought me back to getting tested in school where I like literally, it was like a triangle house and they were all connected and I cannot do that. I literally cannot do that. I cannot copy something from the board and put it on a piece of paper. That is part of my dyslexia. And I looked at the person next to me and hers was perfect and mine literally looked like a second grader and I started crying and she looked at me. She's like, what's wrong? And then she looked at my paper. She's like, are you okay? And I'm like, I think I'm having something's going on. This is not okay. But it brought me back. And again, I have dealt with a lot of my stuff. So those kind of things come out. And if you're not dealing with that, like if I didn't say to the person there, yeah, it's, I think it's some of my learning disabilities that I, just in this atmosphere, I really kind of went crazy. But all of these women were like, that is insane that came out after all these years. And I'm like, but that's not insane. It's actually normal. And by the way, my brain is a direction thinker. So I can move directions like that. It's actually a very interesting brain. Just for all you people that are maybe the neuroscience people that are listening.
Ooh, look at that, throwing out the doctorate there, right? No, it was funny when you're talking about stuffing. All I could think is Build-A-Bear. Remember that? Yeah. Remember that story, Build-A-Bear? If you keep, kept that, your foot on the pedal and that thing in its ass, that thing, the head would explode.
explode.
point.
I love that scenario. Look at that. You just came up
cruel.
with
You want to blow a bear's head off? That's mean.
But that's so true. And it's all those things. And I mean, again, and I talked about this during Dyslexic Awareness Month. And I think I've shared the story with you. I know I've shared every story, but I think this one, maybe you heard it on the podcast. But when I was little, again, we talk about innate confidence. We don't need to build that in. But every time I came home from school, there was a lot of times where I would be kind of just skip off because I was happy to get out of there, but it didn't like kill me in early years, right? It didn't kill me. And there was one time I came home and I was sitting on the stairs. So I don't know, first, second, third grade, who knows, kindergarten, whatever. And I said to her, she's like, what's wrong? You seem like you're down. And I was the kid that like we had play clothes and school clothes. I had to change into my play clothes and I would be out and I would just be running the neighborhood, right? Just like, until dinner time. So I just had to be active. So she's like, what's wrong? And I said, I'm really glad God just made me dumb on the inside and not the outside. And she said she stood there and it was like a stab in the heart. Like, and you know what that meant? It meant like that people like that I didn't look dumb, right? Because again, I went through very funny looking stages, but my mom was like, oh, okay, she's very confident. No, my younger sister didn't. Never. She was like the cutest little thing forever. She never went through
like this over here.
I was terrible. I had crazy hair. My parents cut it short because my hair was like, oh my God, yes. So I went through a lot of those stages. So there's probably a time that I probably was not the most attractive, but clearly I did not see that. And so I was talking about how I felt inside. And my mom will sit, she's like, I will never forget that day because it killed. Like, she's like, we had a good conversation and you went off. She's like, but that day school got to you.
And, obviously hearing that breaks my heart, but also in the same breath is your innate confidence, that you talk about. School got to me every day. So again, we're having this whole conversation is there a lot of dyslexic like you? Absolutely. With that innate confidence where it didn't get to you. That wasn't me. It ate me alive every day. I fucking hated every second of it. I was a class clown. I was an idiot. I was a bully. It was like 8 hours in a lecture chair. So was it sad that school got to you that day? Yes. But look where you are now. Look how far that innate confidence and your mom understanding that at such a young age to be able to make sure that school didn't get to you. Mm-hmm. That's why
and the communicating.
Yeah. Well, she's a teacher.
But do you think here's an interesting thought. I don't mean to interrupt you, but do you think because I didn't stuff it, because I was also the kid that I couldn't keep anything in. So there's no stuffing for me because it's it's on my mind. I'm feeling uncomfortable. I got to get it out. I got to talk about it. And I do that even still in my older life. If I'm uncomfortable at something, I have to talk about it. But I do think that is a healthy thing. And I didn't do that on purpose. So I wonder if, because I talked about it and then my mom built me up, right? I could have had a parent that was didn't build me up, but because the combination of me as a child and my mom, that we just were a really good parenting match. Do you think when you came home, and I know you don't remember, but did you ever talk about it? And was it ever oh, you're fine, just move on? Or, you know what I mean?
No, it's interesting how you said that, parenting match. Again, now, you're sitting on the stairs, right? And you said that. Now let's play that. Let's just say that you weren't sitting on the stairs, right? And your mom wasn't home, and you kind of only went half through your skipping day. Now that would have sat internally on you, right? And and building it. And it's awesome that you're not a stuffer. That's a trait of yours now. every time you stuff, in my terminology, it's just another, it's another lash to you. It's another scar, So, again, you had known, your family, your mom had known about dyslexia before. So she was able to guide you down a different path because she had the understanding of what it was.
Mm-hmm. And she also, because she could have walked by, right? She could have also been in her own head, had her own shit, and just walked by me and not asked. Again, parenting match, right? Because it was like, wait, this kid usually doesn't do this. And how many times do we, like, some of us that are overly focused on our kids or not overly focused, sometimes we don't know, right? And you don't know when to ask. Like, I mean, I have 3 teenagers. There's times where they'll be in a bad mood and I'm like, something happened in school. Are you okay? And they're like, well, I'm just in a bad mood. Why does have something happen in school? Well, I take it something happened in school, right? Some teacher, there was something, because that's what would set me off when I was younger. And they would be like, not everything happens in school. I'm just pissy. I don't know. I didn't get a good night's sleep. I'm just grumpy. Okay, fine. I always have to put something behind a feeling, which is just who I am. And not all the time there's a reason for a feeling. And so you kind of have to know yourself there a little bit as well.
Well, but to bridge off that, what you just said is you put school behind a feeling because that's your traumas.
Mm-hmm.
As
Totally.
we're just talking about right now. So, right. You sat in that, so you sat in that step because of school, right? 2 weeks into school, you're calling me crying because of school. It wasn't because you were out late last night with your husband drinking. No, it had to be school.
Right.
So it's the more that we always will, and you and I probably will always tie trauma to school because we had a shit ton of it. And that's why we talk in this podcast to try and eliminate that. My daughter, obviously Lila, she is 21. God damn. 21, and she rules the world. Just ask her. Love her. But she has less trauma in her life regarding her dyslexia than I do. We found out at, kindergarten that she was struggling. Neuropsych, that's where all this started, right? So her trauma is way less than when I found out when I was 32. Thank God. We all have traumas, but it's less than what mine is.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, and it's, and I mean, that's one of the things that, and why we do this podcast and why you have your foundation. You saw, okay, my daughter, I mean, and I love that, right? That was a direct thing from you. You saw that your daughter had the less trauma and with school. And so it was like, wait, I want others to not go through this, right? I want others not to have this, the same trauma that you had. And again, it's the understanding, it's the talking about it. It's the educating yourself if the school is not, because again, the school's a business. And if you guys have not, go back to, this is, I think, we're on episode 11 that just went out. So if you need to go back, because we talk a lot about things. I know, right? Fingers and toes.
I got to take my shoes off.
What we talk a lot about the business of school and the not knowing, and there's different districts that have a little bit more understanding, but you cannot do this. Like, you cannot go in kind of doe-eyed, right? I went in very doe-eyed. Everyone loves us. What are you talking about? They're going to all help us.
What is doe-eyed?
You don't know doe-eyed? Like a deer, like the baby Bambi, like doe-eyed.
Deer. Yes, I like to shoot deer. Bambi? Doe-eyed?
Yeah,
so
doe-eyed.
Should we say Bambi-eyed?
Yeah, Bambi-eyed. Just like go in kind of like...
Yeah. So how many deals, how many things you got with your eye? I'll just, bat my eyes, whatever.
No, doe-eyed means I went in like, and maybe I'm using the wrong terminology, which would not be the first
I've never heard of that, so I'm asking. Maybe it's
really?
an American term.
Oh, I love that. I think it is it. But doe-eyed means like you go in innocent, like just thinking like, oh, I'm now going to look it up afterwards because I might be using it completely wrong, which I have been known to do that. You just go in kind of thinking that the school is going to help you because you know them. Not only you know them because you're a good person and you're like, of course they're going to want to help my child. They see that they're not teaching him. Why wouldn't they be like, okay, he needs extra help and the school, what you're doing is not helping. So let's figure something out, instead of, oh no, sorry, he's still doing okay. He's in like he's still learning a little bit here. And I'm like, okay, well now the class is here. He's not learning anymore. Like, what are you talking about? And then having, the principal who I considered someone like, an acquaintance. She loved us. She loved my kid. My kid was good. Literally go business. And I remember just being, I got my feelings really hurt, and it takes a lot to hurt my feelings because I'm not a sensitive flower. But I was really hurt. Have you never heard that one either? I'm not a sensitive flower.
Is that flower in your VW too, next to your Beetle? Light blue.
It's electric blue. Electric blue. But I'm not a sensitive flower. So for all of you, I have an electric blue Volkswagen. And it's really fun because I do live in a small town and everyone knows when I'm coming around the corner. So if I do anything
running out of gas.
I have 15 miles right now. I was like, damn it.
Hang on. How the hell do you know you got 15 miles on your gas tank right now when you're sitting in your office?
Because I had to go to hot yogurt today and I was like, oh shoot, I really should get gas, but wait, I don't have time because I need to get home and get into the shower because I have a podcast today. So I was like thinking in my day when I am going to, because I have more than 15 miles to drive today. And I was thinking, when am I going to have time to do this?
See, I love how you're making it seem like filling up with gas just takes like 7 hours of your day.
Oh, I hate it. So here's the thing. Now that
don't even tell me you don't even get your ass out of the seat, do you? No. You live in a small town. Exactly. So don't
I found the one. Well, because I'm from Jersey. Yeah. I am from New Jersey. They pump our gas. So when I moved to New York, and actually the first time it was in Connecticut. Yes, this is a very attention deficit moment for all of you that are listening, because we went from very serious stuff to now gas. But this is actually funny. The first time I really had to pump my own gas, I was in Connecticut and I was late, surprise, surprise, to a school function, surprise, surprise. And I took the nozzle out too fast and I splashed gas all over myself. That day, I was like, I will not be pumping my own gas. I will find the gas station that pumps it for me. So, but it's like in the opposite direction where I have to go a lot of times. So I go and go and go because I hate stopping and getting gas because it does take a little time. And I'm always running 5 minutes late. So
no. You're never running 5 minutes late unless it's to school. Let's just clarify that with everybody.
That is true.
All listeners, that her and her kids are never allowed to be late to anything but school.
Except my workouts and yoga, I'm not. My workouts, I'm usually like 3 minutes late. I try every time, and then there's always like a pickup truck that's going slow, and I'm like, God damn it, I'm still going to be late. Still going to be late.
So the pickup truck gets damn gas, damn pickup truck. Listen, get out of my way. The Volkswagen electric blue is coming. Like, this is my road. Yes. Get out of my way.
My little horn, which I do not beat.
Yeah, you're choking that beer.
But no, here's the thing, that this is actually, now we're going to take it full circle here. So with so we're going to take it back to why and how we got to this. So one of the things with time management. So you don't have a time management thing. At ADHD, it is known for time stuff. Now, I always think I can get a lot of stuff done in a very short period of time. And I'm like, and then I forget. But you are like always prompt on things, right? But is that from your NHL stuff?
Well, this is actually an amazing segue into a conversation I had yesterday.
I'm so good.
Time management 100%. But, I had my buddy's wife. It was a couple of years ago, severely ADHD. Would put down for her day of lists of things to do was like 17 things long.
Oh.
I'm like, Kelly, yeah, Kelly, I don't like her name either, so my ex-wife's name's terrible. But I'm like, there's 17 things on this list. And that's not realistic. So I said, you can't put any more than 5. Because ADHD, normal, completely off the rocker, whatever, that's not realistic. So I said, you're starting yourself off 6 feet under, because nobody can have 15, 17 things. Okay, 5 things. I got to stop at the grocery store. I got to get gas. I got to get gas. I got to get gas. I got to get gas.
That's what my list was every day.
But it's what's on that list. What's realistic? So, like, are we setting ourselves up? We'll talk sports terms. As a coach, your job is put that kid or put that person, individual, in a place to succeed. So now, we talk about bearing and self-love and self-hate by stuffing. Are we setting ourselves up for success by putting 17 things down on our list? No, we're not.
No, we're setting up for failure. Totally.
For failure. So to that. So, I usually, I only have, I only put, 3, 4, 5 things on my list. I've learned that. My dad taught me, if you're not 10 minutes early, you're 5 minutes late. And that's, for me, is I was told.
Well, I guess being a farmer too, yeah.
I was told where to be, when to be, how to be till I was 40 years old. School, recess, right? Practice, planes, buses. Again, it was, if I didn't get there early, like I was, I missed it. So it wasn't right. The class would start. Right. Like it would literally,
no one would wait for you.
On like, there you go. Bye. I have to find my own way. So a lot of my stuff was, a lot of times I'll be 45 minutes early. Like, I am always.
Well, I'm
always
either early. Yeah, I'm either early or late. So like if it's something, because I don't like people waiting on me. Like if I'm meeting friends and stuff, I'm not late. Because it's also like, I feel like it's disrespectful. I don't want to waste people's time, because I'm not that person that's wasting people's time. I'll have friends saying, you like literally do the opposite things. It's so weird, like what sometimes your scenarios are. But I want to take this now to like the listeners that are listening, that they're like, okay, I have been stuffing. What do I do? And so I'm going to like take us through where we can give them some kind of tools to do. And then we're going to talk about that list. Say you have 17 things, what do you do? But we're going to take you through all that, and I'll remember to ask. But I'm curious, from your expertise, Dr. Brent, what do you suggest a listener to say, you know what, I think I do have a lot of unresolved stuff, either, with dyslexia, with school and stuff like that. And even if you're listening to this and you don't have dyslexia, you don't stuff, because it's going to come out anywhere, right? So, but they don't want to do a therapist. They don't, they don't know what to do. So what do you suggest to that individual that's listening, or knows someone? There's a few portions to that. You've got to have that conversation, and you just mentioned therapist. So therapist, counselor, I say it all the time. You've heard me say it. If you choose to go that route, which is great, you have to go to somebody who has had some of your traumas. For this talking purposes, you've got to go to somebody who has dyslexia. To be able to, I always call it relatability. When you sit down with a counselor or therapist, you've got to have that relatability, where right away, 5 minutes in, if they don't understand you. And then you get all pissed off. The rest, and when you get pissed off, I call it gaslighting. And then you're like, fuck this. I'm never going back to this person. You're right, because they didn't have your traumas. They're trying to counsel out of chapter 10, page 150. That's not reality. So you want,
So if you're going to go down that route of speaking with a counselor or therapist or whatever term is, in my mind, again, that's just, coming from me, is that you've got to go to somebody who's had a couple of your major traumas, whatever that is. Sometimes it's going to take you 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 different people to find that right fit, because they haven't had it. And I think, to me, is going through the world of hard knocks, Division I school, means more and can help more. For an example of a doctor, there's like, they don't have bedside manners. They don't have bedside manners because they haven't been in that bed. Again, further that dyslexia, please reach out to me. I'll be happy to have a conversation with anybody. Juliet knows, I don't care who you are, where you're from, what color, race, I don't care, national, I don't care who. I started the foundation, the Brent Sobel Foundation, for a reason. There's a couple tag legs. One, you're never alone. And two, is that I started it because I never want a kid to feel the way I do every day, or a person feel the way I do every day. So, on the dyslexic side, ADHD, learning disorders, please, drugs, alcohol, there isn't too many bridges I've crossed in my day, and that's okay. I never say why me. There's a reason why, and I'm here for anybody. So if you're listening to this and you want to reach out, please do, through social media. I always get back to you. Sometimes takes longer than others with what's going on in my world, and I always will. Juliet knows that. If you want to go through her, I'm always there. I'm always available to help. I'm not an expert, but I'm an ear that will always listen.
But you are an expert just because you didn't. And so this is the thing. You are an expert because of what you have gone through and how you have changed the trajectory of your life. So I would beg to differ, just because you don't have a PhD, like a traditional PhD. But so thank you for sharing that. So, right. I'm not going to ask what that is.
PhD? What's I'm missing? Oh, I'm a C. I tried to flip it. I couldn't even do that shit. See?
I can't do that either. So don't even. Yeah, you have to write down and look at
DHP. I got a DHP. That's what I got.
Oh my God. Oh, it's so funny. And so we can laugh because those things are funny, because it is like, yeah, those are the kind of things our brains can't do. Yeah. One of the things, what do you think about this? Because I'll have people that, have reached out to me about trying to help them figure out their story, right, and add it. And what I always do is tell them first to really get comfortable talking about it. And if you're like, I don't want to talk to someone else, you have a phone, right? You have these recorders where you can go and just find that place. I do it when I walk my boxers. I think it's like my daydreamy kind of wonderful spot. Find that spot that is, don't you chime in on this, Mr. Brent. Don't do it where you're driving, because that is dangerous. So find the spot that is, but where your brain can kind of go and really talk into your phone. And there's like something called a voice recorder app there. I think that even comes on your phone, and you can literally like speak. And I think a lot of times when people do that, there is something, it's uncomfortable, because again, it is a space that you're talking that's uncomfortable. So you might find that you're like, oh, I don't want to do that. That sucked. However, once you start getting more, like getting it off your chest and feeling it, and then realizing, okay, there's parts that are a little bit more uncomfortable than others, then you can kind of start doing that healing and finding the people that can, and that you can talk to. So we are going to have Dr. Jane, and I always say her name wrong and she'll laugh, but I think it's like, I'm just going to say Dr. T. She is a therapist that is dyslexic and ADHD. So we're going to have her on word blindness, because what our plan is, don't hold us to it, but what our plan is to have one guest a month, like we did for October for Dyslexic Awareness Month. For every month, we'll have one guest, and we're going to try to find those guests that also have those amazing stories that our other guests have, but then also could possibly give some tools for people. So stay tuned for
No,
that.
and you're right. That's an awesome tool. Getting it off out of your chest.
And out of your head.
It's huge. It's not in your head. Obviously, we always say, look, being in your head is the worst place in the world to be. And if it is, as you're talking about into your phone, even if you want to write it down, the old diary, you write it too. It doesn't need to spell right. There's no punctuations. It could just go on and on and on. It could be a Brent Sopel run-on sentence for 7 pages. That's okay. That's part of getting it off. So no, that was a great point. By you. If that is that.
But I also
app.
love that you talk about writing, because that is again how you learn. And I just go to the voice because if it's in my head, I cannot write it down.
Yeah.
I have to speak.
And there's no there's
people
no
do.
right or wrong. There's no right or wrong. It's
right.
Is it coloring? Is it coloring a picture to because.
Yeah, smart.
I know people that they grew up in a house where it was yellers. Nobody could articulate. Ooh, wow,
good one.
Who am I kidding? They couldn't. They had their feelings, but they didn't know how to tell their feelings. Like tell their sister, or tell their brother, or tell mom and dad. It just became in yelling and screaming, and then it just become, World War 62 in the house. Maybe it's right. Maybe it's drawing a picture.
Mm-hmm. How you feel? No, that's so smart. Yeah, that's so smart. So those are definitely things people can do if they're like, well, I'm not ready to talk to someone else. Just getting comfortable, getting it out of your head and off your chest. And the thing that is interesting, what I have done with people, and again, this is about their story, and so it's a little different, but this is always a part of their story, is if they feel comfortable enough to listen back. I know a lot of people don't, or read back, or as you're writing, feel those times that you're like, ooh, well, that was a weird feeling. I like, whether it's like an excited feeling or like a not excited feeling, or like, wait, there's something more there, and explore that a little bit more. Again, you want to do it in a safe place, because if you do have a lot of trauma, you don't want to be alone and then, and not be in a great space. And that's when you then call Brent and be like, okay, I did this voice exercise and now I want to freak out.
And when you're listening back to yourself, it's hard. Because it's a different thing. You're not used to you're used to hearing yourself talk, but when you gotta listen to yourself. So, I've been in the media world, when you have to look back, oh my God, don't listen to the tone of your voice. Don't listen to the trajectory. Listen to the words. So, because then, what I mean by that, try and listen to the meaning of the words, not the sound of the meaning.
Yeah. No, so good. And those are all really big tools that someone can use. And that's like really your first step. So if you're out there, you're listening to this and you're like, oh, fuck, I know I need to do this. Do it. Right? Because what do we say whenever Brent says something, or vice versa? Like there's times where it's like, oh, shut up. Because you know that the person's right. We are right. We have lived. We are right. And that's comical, because you're going to be right. There's going to be people listening to this going,
yeah, my one buddy.
And that's fine.
He stops. He goes, fuck you.
Right.
That's all he says. No before, there's a pause. I get the 5-second pause. I get the fuck you. And I get the 5 seconds after.
Yeah. Right. Because you touched on a nerve.
Yeah.
Okay. So now I'm going to take it to the list. So it's really funny. I am not a list person. Because again, half of the time I'm trying to write something down. I can't spell it. I can't say it. And then it pisses me off. So I'd rather just voice text it into my phone. Because I'll look at the list and be like, what is that? I don't even know what that is. How am I going to do it now? And then it's the whole thing. So having that space for the list. Say you have 17 or 18 things. I do have sticky notes everywhere. It's hilarious. I actually have sticky notes all over my desk. It's actually crazy. But so I shouldn't say lists. These are like thoughts. But I'd rather voice text them. It's just easier for me. But say someone does have they have a couple weeks that are just, they know that are crazy, and they have each day have 17 things. what do they do? Do they break it down? Okay, these are the 5 that I'm going to do today, but then make a list behind it. And these are the other things I have to do in a week. Like, what would you suggest there? So then they can be on time for things.
Well, and again, to your phone, voice texting your phone, like there's nowhere wrong. Back again, I don't use my phone. I hate it. Meaning I would rather write it down. Yes, is it spelt wrong? And yes. So there's no right or wrong with that. So let's just say you have 17 things that you need to accomplish for the week. Okay, break it up. Okay, what are the most important things? Because there can't be the 17 most important things in the world. We can think that in our mind. Okay, let's write this down. Okay, that's why our mind is the most powerful thing in the world. You can tell your mind to do whatever you want. You can make your mind, want. I remember my oldest. He's like, I don't know about this job. I'm like, listen, you need to write down the pros and cons to this. He's like, why? I said, because you can make it the most pro job ever or the most con job ever from your mind. So and maybe true. One day I'll do, did I send you that video of that drill I do turning?
Yes, the arms.
Yeah, the arms. Again, maybe one day we'll add that to this. But your mind is that most powerful thing. So out of those 17 things, realistically, what is the most important things? Let's just, for all intents and purposes, let's say it's snowman. There's 8 of them. Okay, 8 of the most important. Okay, let's jot that over those 5 days. Is that 2, 4, 6? Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. You
do a couple days, right?
Yeah.
Sorry. And then you can add in. Okay, I have to get down. I've got to get to the school for my daughter's play. I've got to get my son's new patch. He blew out his knee. Okay, 2 most important thing. Okay, then add a couple more things in there. All right. And instead of looking down that list, is the glass half full? Damn it, I didn't do no. And this was like I had my buddy call me yesterday, having a meltdown. I wanted to get so much done. I'm like, well, when you set your alarm, whatever time that is, you get up, okay, what's on that list? I said, I know for him, he's like, well, I want to do this and this. I said, but that was in your head, right? So you didn't write it down. So you woke up, now you're in a complete panic, and now your day's ruined. So you can look at that list and say, okay, here, all right, I need to take care of this, and this. So let's love yourself. Let's be realistic. There's nobody
and be happy what you accomplished.
Correct.
Yeah.
Instead of, I didn't do this, and this. No, but hang on. You did do that, and that.
That. And I love how you broke it down. And again, the thing that is really important with dyslexic and ADHD and all the umbrella, that's executive functioning. And some of us have better executive functioning than others. Yeah. Others also have different tools to do it. So I love how you broke that down, because I use, again, it's in my calendar, and I have to get better because I'll have whatever else, like my work stuff is in my calendar, but like for what I have to do for the kids is on like a sticky note somewhere stupid, or it's in my head. And I'll get at times where I'm like, okay, now I'm spinning. Like, I'm laying at yoga and I'm like, fuck. And I'm like, this is not helping. So then I know, wait a second, I need to write a list and I need to do that. And so, as you said, there's no wrong or right way, but you have to get it out of your head. That's the most important. You have to get it out of your head, because when you have it in your head, and there's a saying, and I'm going to get it wrong, so I'm not going to completely say it, but when you are in your head and it's spinning, that's when anxiety happens. That's when like stress and then depression and all of that, when you have it in your head and it's spinning and spinning and spinning and you're not getting it out. So again, if you're a list, whatever it is, if that head is spinning, go to, writing, go to your phone, go voice text it. No one's listening. No one's judging you. No one's sitting over your shoulder. If you're someone that's like, your thing where you
if
care.
I don't mean to cut you off. And if they're judging, they're judging for a reason because they're jealous. And that's how I view it.
Oh,
Right?
that's how I view it. 100%.
So there's no right or wrong. And I can go, we go on 10. You're supposed to be married by 26 and have 4 kids and have this. No. Shut the fuck up. No, there's no right or wrong.
Right. And it's right. There's so many different things here. And I feel like this episode touched on so many awesome things. But this is not just, again, if you're listening to this and you're like, okay, this is not just really for dyslexics. No, we're coming from the dyslexic standpoint. We're coming from educating from our own experiences, but that's why stories connect us. That's why stories are so beautiful. When people share their stories, it touches a little piece in every single person. And you might hear someone's story and say, wow, you know what? I know someone that needs to hear this. And then that's how change happens. Right now, the world is wacko. And, and every kind of, I feel like every quarter people are like, oh my God, is it going to get worse? And it's going to get worse. It's not, there's going to be something shit happening everywhere. And you have to do what's best for yourself, but you also have to think about others around you. Don't be egotistical where it's like, okay, this is all about me, because then that's also where problems happen. So if you're a person that's sitting there like, I have too much on my mind, so I can't be good to my neighbor, I can't be good to this, I can't be good to my kids, I can't be good to my husband, I can't be good to my wife, can't be good to my friends, start taking those little steps. Take those little steps, writing it down, voice texting.
Be good to yourself first.
That is true. Yes.
If you're good to yourself first, and that's why I always say, fall in love with yourself. Talk about look in the mirror. Say I love you, know it, feel and believe to yourself. Your world, your life is going to be amazing. The people that don't and put yourself last are not happy. They can say they're happy. I can say a lot of things too.
Yeah, I love that. Well, I think that's a good ending. Wow, look at us, 51. So you guys, again, like, rate, review, share, send this to as many people, because again, you don't know who needs to hear this. You don't know who in your life needs to hear this story, who needs these tools, who needs to just be better for themselves, because right now they're spinning. And we'll see you for another episode of Word Blindness Dyslexia Exposed. Thank you, Brent. Always.
No, thank you, ma'am.